My son's words hit me like a fist to the gut. "You'll never live up to my father-in-law!" I stood up slowly, feeling every one of my 58 years in my bones. The wedding reception buzzed around us, 300 guests pretending not to watch this little drama unfold. I looked at Daniel, my boy, the kid I'd raised alone after his mother walked out when he was 6. The kid I'd worked double shifts for, skipped meals for, sold my car for when he needed college money. "Will he be covering your bills?" I said, keeping my voice level. "Because I'm done sending you any more money." Jessica, my new daughter-in-law, turned to me with wide eyes. Her white dress probably cost more than I made in 2 months. "What money? We haven't received a penny from you." The lie was so smooth, so practiced, that for a moment I almost doubted myself. Almost. "Really?" I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. "Want to see the wire transfers? $18,000 in the last 6 months, rent, car payments, that vacation to Cancun you posted all over social media." Daniel's face went red. "Dad, not here." "Not here?" I looked around at the fancy ballroom, the ice sculptures, the open bar. "This wedding cost 40 grand. I know because you asked me to co-sign the venue contract. Where'd that money come from, son?" Jessica's father approached, all expensive suit and white teeth. "Is there a problem here?" "No problem, Robert," I said. "Just learning some interesting facts about my son's finances." Robert put his hand on Daniel's shoulder like he owned him. Maybe he did now. "Daniel and Jessica are starting their life together. Young people need support, not lectures." "Support," I repeated. "Right. Is that what you call it when they lie about needing money for rent while planning a destination wedding?" Jessica's hand shot out. Fast. Professional. The slap echoed in the sudden quiet around us. "How dare you ruin our day with your petty jealousy," she hissed. "Daniel told me you'd be like this, unable to accept that he's found a real family now." I touched my cheek. It stung, but not as much as the look on Daniel's face. He wasn't defending me, wasn't even looking at me. He was looking at Robert, seeking approval like a dog waiting for a treat. "Give me your apartment keys," Jessica said, holding out her hand. The room went silent. Even the band stopped playing. "Excuse me?" "Your apartment keys. That place is too big for one person. Daniel and I need somewhere to live while we save for a house. It only makes sense." I stared at her. At 26, she had the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. "You want me to give you my home?" "It's not like you need all that space. You could rent a studio somewhere. Or Robert found a nice senior community. I'm 58, not 80. Nevertheless." She snapped her fingers, actually snapped them. "The keys." I looked at my son. "Daniel?" He couldn't meet my eyes. "Dad, be reasonable. We're starting out. You had your chance." "I had my chance?" My voice rose despite myself. "I gave you everything, everything. Your mother left us with nothing, and I rebuilt our lives from scratch. I worked 70-hour weeks so you could go to that fancy college. I skipped meals so you could eat. I sold my father's watch, my only inheritance, to pay for your senior trip to Europe. And this is what I get." "That's emotional manipulation," Jessica said. She actually rolled her eyes. "Classic narcissist parent behavior, making everything about your sacrifices." I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The sound was harsh, bitter. People backed away. "You know what? Keep the apartment, keep everything. I'm done." I turned to walk out, and that's when the doors opened. A man stepped in, tall, thin, wearing a cheap suit that had seen better days. He had a folder under his arm and eyes that had seen too much. "David Preston?" he called out. Every head swiveled to Daniel, who'd gone white as his wife's dress. "That's me," I said, stepping forward. "I'm David Preston." The man looked confused. "I'm looking for David Daniel Preston. I was told he'd be here." "I'm David Preston. That's Daniel Preston." I pointed at my son. "Ah, then I need Daniel Preston." "Daniel, You've been avoiding my calls for 3 months. Your debt's been sold to collections. We need to talk. Jessica grabbed Daniel's arm. Don't say anything. We'll call our lawyer. Your lawyer? The man laughed. Kid, you're $73,000 in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, that car lease you defaulted on. Your lawyer's going to tell you the same thing I am. Pay up, or we start proceedings. That's impossible, Robert said, but his voice wavered. I gave them $20,000 for a down payment. Which they spent on the wedding, I said quietly. Daniel finally looked at me, really looked at me. And I saw it then, the desperation, the fear, but underneath it all, the calculation. He was wondering if I'd bail him out, again. Dad, no. The word came out flat, final. Whatever you're about to ask for, the answer's no. Jessica's face twisted. You selfish bastard. This is your son. My son slapped me in front of everyone. My son let his wife slap me. My son lied to me, stole from me, and just tried to take my home. That person isn't my son anymore. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, voices erupted. Jessica screaming, Robert demanding answers, Daniel pleading. The debt collector's voice cut through it all, calm and professional, explaining exactly how much trouble my son was in. I pushed through the doors into the cool evening air. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Dad, please, we can talk about this. I blocked his number. Then I stood there in the parking lot, watching the lights of the wedding hall, listening to the muffled chaos inside. I'd raised that boy alone, given him everything, and he'd spit in my face. But I wasn't sad. Not anymore. I was angry. And I was patient. And I had a plan. The apartment felt different when I got home. I'd lived here for 22 years, but tonight the walls seemed closer, the rooms smaller, like they knew something had changed. I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey, good stuff I'd been saving for a special occasion. Apparently watching your life implode counted as special. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from relatives who'd been at the wedding asking what happened, taking sides, demanding explanations. I ignored them all except one. Uncle Ray. That was quite a show. Call me. Ray was my father's brother, 73 and sharper than most people half his age. He'd been a public defender for 40 years before retiring. If anyone would understand, it'd be him. Jesus Christ, David, he said when I called. You okay? Been better. That girl's got some nerve. I wanted to kick her teeth in. Get in line. He laughed, but it was dark. What are you gonna do? I don't know yet. Liar, I know that tone. You're planning something. I took a drink. He's in debt up to his eyeballs, Ray. 73 grand. That's not just credit cards. That's someone living way beyond their means, lying about it, and dragging everyone else down with them. The debt collector showing up like that. You know anything about that timing? Pure coincidence, I said. Lie. I'd called the collection agency 3 days ago, told them exactly where Daniel would be and when. But it was enlightening. What do you need from me? Information. Legal information. Hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to protect their assets from a family member who might try to make claims on them, what would that person do? Ray was quiet for a moment. You think he'll sue you? I think his wife will convince him to try. She mentioned a lawyer pretty quick back there. Okay. First thing tomorrow, you get yourself to a lawyer. Not me. I'm too close to this. But I'll give you a name. Guy's a shark. You tell him everything, and I mean everything. Every penny you gave Daniel, every loan, every time you co-signed something. I kept records. Of course you did. He sighed. David, I gotta ask. Are you sure about this? Cutting him off completely? He's your son. He stopped being my son when he let that woman slap me and didn't say a word. You know what he did instead? He looked at her father, for approval, like I was the embarrassment. Yeah, Ray said softly. I saw that too. Broke my heart. We talked for another hour. Ray walked me through the basics: property rights, inheritance law, how to protect myself from potential lawsuits. By the time we hung up, I had a clear picture of my first steps. But as I sat there in my empty apartment, whiskey warming my gut, I realized something. I didn't just want to protect myself, I wanted them to hurt, really hurt, the way I was hurting. The whiskey bottle was half empty when I finally opened my laptop. Started digging. I had Daniel's email password. He'd given it to me years ago when he needed me to handle something while he was traveling, never changed it. Sloppy. Kids these days think they're tech-savvy, but they're just careless. His inbox was a gold mine of stupidity. Credit card statements showing purchases at high-end restaurants, designer stores, a weekend in Vegas I'd known nothing about, emails from his bank warning about overdrafts, a thread with Jessica's father discussing investment opportunities that smelled like pyramid schemes. Another thread with Jessica where they joked about how easy it was to play the parents. That one hurt. But it also crystallized something in me. They thought I was stupid. A mark. They were wrong. I saved everything to a secure folder, backed it up 3 times. Evidence, insurance, ammunition. My phone buzzed. Another number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mr. Preston? This is Gary Sullivan. I'm representing Daniel and Jessica Preston. I understand there was an incident at the wedding. Their lawyer works fast. My clients are concerned about potential slander and defamation, the accusations you made in front of numerous witnesses. Were backed up by bank records and confirmed by a debt collector. But thanks for calling. This'll save me some time. Excuse me? I was wondering how long it'd take them to lawyer up. 14 hours. Not bad. Tell me, Mr. Sullivan, did they mention the $18,000 I loaned them? Or the venue contract I co-signed? Or the car lease in my name they defaulted on? Silence. Yeah, I said. Thought not. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell your clients that any further contact with me goes through my attorney. All those loans, I want them documented properly, in writing, with payment plans, and if they come near me or my property, I'll file for a restraining order. We clear? Mr. Preston, there's no need for hostilities. I got slapped in front of 300 people by a woman who then demanded I hand over my home. I'd say hostilities are already pretty well established. I hung up. The sun was coming up. I hadn't slept at all. My face still hurt where Jessica had hit me, a dull throb that pulsed in time with my headache. But I felt good, better than I had in months, because now I knew what I was dealing with. Not my son making a mistake, not a misunderstanding that could be fixed. This was calculated, deliberate betrayal, and I was going to return the favor. Ray's lawyer friend was named Tom Chen. No relation to anyone, he assured me, just a coincidence. His office was in a strip mall between a nail salon and a phone repair shop, which didn't inspire confidence until I stepped inside. The place was immaculate. Law books lined every wall. 3 computer monitors glowed on his desk. The man himself was 50-ish, graying at the temples with eyes that missed nothing. Ray says you've got a problem, he said after we shook hands. I told him everything. The wedding, the slap, the debt collector, the threatening lawyer call. I showed him my bank records, the emails I'd found, every scrap of evidence I had. Tom listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Okay. First question. What do you want? What do you mean? I mean, what's your goal here? Just protect yourself? Get your money back? Make them hurt? Because those are 3 different strategies. I thought about it. Really thought about it. All 3, I said finally. But in that order, protection first. Smart. He tapped his pen on the desk. Here's what we're looking at. The loans you made. Unless you have written agreements, they're gifts legally. You can't force repayment. I figured. But, he held up a finger. The car lease in your name that they defaulted on. That's different. That's fraud. They used your credit, your identity, and then abandoned the obligation. We can pursue that. Will it stick? If you want it to. Realistically, it'd be a headache for everyone involved, but the threat of it gives us leverage. What about the co-signed venue contract? Did you pay any of it? 10,000. They were supposed to cover the rest. And did they? Her father did. Tom nodded. Okay. That's trickier. You co-signed, so you're technically liable if they default. But since it was paid, you're clear. You can't recoup your 10 grand without proof they agreed to pay you back. I pulled out my phone, showed him a text from 6 months ago. Daniel. Thanks for covering the deposit, Dad. We'll pay you back after the honeymoon. Tom grinned. Now we're talking. That's acknowledgement of debt. Not ironclad, but it helps. He made more notes. What about the apartment they wanted? It's mine, solely in my name. His mother signed away any claims in the divorce. Good. We'll make sure it stays that way. I'll draft a formal letter to their lawyer establishing boundaries. No contact except through attorneys, no claims on your property, and a demand for repayment of documented loans. They can't pay. I know, that's not the point. The point is establishing a legal record. When they inevitably screw up again, and they will, we'll have documentation showing a pattern of behavior. I liked how he thought. What about her? I asked. Jessica. The wife? What about her? She hit me, in front of witnesses. Tom's expression shifted. You want to press charges? I want options. Okay, technically that's battery, misdemeanor. You could file a police report, but realistically, it'd be your word against hers unless you have video. The venue had cameras. Then we request that footage. Today, before it gets erased. Even if you don't press charges, having that video is valuable. It proves she's aggressive, volatile. If they ever try to paint you as the bad guy, we show the video of her hitting you at a public wedding. Do it. We spent 2 more hours going through everything. Tom made calls, drafted documents, set wheels in motion. By the time I left his office, I had a protection plan in place and a hefty legal bill brewing, worth every penny. My phone rang as I got to my car. Unknown number. I answered. David, it's Robert, Jessica's father. What do you want? I think we got off on the wrong foot. Can we meet? Coffee, my treat. Just 2 fathers trying to figure this out. I don't drink coffee with people whose daughters assault me. Jessica was emotional. The wedding, the stress. She slapped me and demanded my home. Then she lawyered up. We're past coffee, Robert. David, please. They're kids. They made mistakes. But cutting Daniel off completely. Did he tell you he owes $73,000? Silence. Did he tell you he's been taking money from me while lying about his finances? Did he tell you about the car lease fraud? Car lease? Yeah, probably not. See, here's the thing, Robert. You think this is about the wedding. It's not. It's about years of lies. The wedding was just when I finally opened my eyes. What do you want? Money? I don't want your money. I want your daughter and my son to face the consequences of their choices, without me there to catch them. I hung up. 3 days later, the video arrived via email from the venue. High definition, perfect audio. Jessica's hand connecting with my face, my head snapping to the side, Daniel turning away, the whole room going silent. I watched it 5 times. Then I saved it to the same secure folder as everything else. The restraining order request was denied. Apparently wanting someone's apartment and slapping them once isn't enough for legal protection. But the judge did issue a warning. Any further contact that could be construed as harassment would result in penalties. Good enough. Tom sent his letter to their lawyer. Formal, cold, laying out exactly what we wanted. Acknowledgement of debts, payment plans, and 0 contact. He CC'd Robert too, just to make sure everyone understood the situation. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my work. I'm a project manager for a mid-sized construction company. Not glamorous, but steady. I was reviewing blueprints in my office when my secretary buzzed me. Your son's here. Tell him I'm busy. He says it's an emergency. I sighed. walked out to the lobby. Daniel was there in jeans and a wrinkled shirt, looking like he hadn't slept in a week. Probably hadn't. "Dad, please, just 5 minutes." "No." "Dad, I'm desperate. The credit card companies are threatening lawsuits. Jessica's father cut us off after your lawyer's letter. We're going to lose everything." "You don't have anything to lose, that's the problem. Please, I'm begging you. Just enough to make minimum payments. I'll pay you back, I swear." "Like you paid back the other 18,000? His face crumpled. For a moment I saw the kid he used to be. 10 years old, crying because he struck out in Little League. 14, devastated over a girl who didn't like him back. 18, scared to leave for college. Then I remembered him turning away while Jessica slapped me. "Get out," I said. "If you come back here, I'll have security remove you." "You're really going to let me crash and burn?" "I'm going to let you face reality. Something I should have done years ago." He stared at me. Then something shifted in his expression. The desperation faded, replaced by something uglier. "You know what? Screw you. I don't need you. I never needed you. You were just convenient." "There it is," I said. "The truth. Finally. Everything you did for me, that was your job as a parent. You don't get credit for doing the bare minimum." "The bare minimum? Kid, the bare minimum would have been food and shelter. I gave you everything, every opportunity, every advantage, and you pissed it away. Because you smothered me. You made every decision about my life. I paid for your life. There's a difference. And now you're using that against me. Typical narcissist." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "You know what's funny? Jessica called me a narcissist at the wedding. Now you're using the same line, almost like she's been coaching you." His face flushed. "Don't talk about my wife. Your wife hit me. Your wife demanded my home. Your wife's turned you into a spineless puppet who can't even look his own father in the eye. But sure, I won't talk about her. I want the money you owe me." "Excuse me. All those years you helped me, that was your obligation. You don't get to hold that over my head. Consider it back payment for the childhood you stole by making me your emotional support system after Mom left." The audacity was breathtaking. "Get out. I'm entitled." "You're entitled to nothing. Less than nothing. And if you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops." He left. But not before putting his fist through my office wall. My boss came running. "What the hell?" "Sorry, Jim. Family drama. I'll pay for the damage." "Your kid did that?" "Not my kid anymore." Jim looked at the hole, then at me. "You okay, David?" "Getting there." After Daniel left, I sat in my office staring at that hole. Drywall dust on the carpet, jagged edges, a perfect metaphor for our relationship. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number, but I recognized the tone immediately. Jessica. "We know you have money hidden. Daniel said you were always paranoid about banks. We will find it. And when we do, you'll regret treating us like this." I showed it to Tom that evening. "That's a threat," he said. "Document everything. Don't respond." "I'm not going to respond. I'm going to do something better." "What?" "I'm going to let them destroy themselves." Tom raised an eyebrow. "Care to elaborate?" "Think about it. They're desperate. Their debts are piling up. They've burned through their support systems. What do desperate people do? Make bad choices. Exactly. And bad choices leave evidence. All I have to do is wait and watch." "That's surprisingly cold." "I learned from the best." I pulled out my phone. "Remember that car lease fraud I mentioned? I've been documenting everything. Every missed payment, every letter from the leasing company. I've got enough to press charges. You want to send your son to jail? I want consequences, real ones, the kind that can't be sweet-talked or borrowed away." Tom leaned back. "You know, when Ray sent you to me, he said you were angry but rational. I'm starting to see both sides. Am I wrong? Legally? No. Morally? That's above my pay grade. But as your lawyer, I'll tell you this. If you go down this road, there's no coming back. You'll be the bad guy in every family story forever." I'm already the bad guy. Might as well earn it. 3 weeks passed. I focused on work, kept my head down, ignored the constant stream of blocked calls and messages from relatives trying to mediate. Then Uncle Ray called. You need to see something. We met at a diner near his place. He slid a folder across the table. What's this? Jessica's background. I got curious, did some digging. I opened it. Police reports, court records, social media archives. Jessica Allen, her maiden name, had a history. 2 DUIs in college. A restraining order from an ex-boyfriend who claimed she'd assaulted him with a bottle. Charges dropped due to lack of evidence, but the pattern was there. Maxed out credit cards in 3 different states. She'd moved around a lot, always one step ahead of debt collectors. Jesus, I muttered. Gets better. The father, Robert Allen, he's leveraged to hell. That fancy lifestyle, it's all borrowed. The house has 3 mortgages. His business is circling the drain. He's 1 bad quarter from bankruptcy. So she married Daniel thinking I had money. Bingo! You're not rich, but you're stable. Own your place outright, steady job, probably have decent savings. To someone like her, you're a gold mine. And when she realized I wouldn't just hand everything over, she pivoted, got her hooks deeper into Daniel, turned him against you, and tried to force your hand. I stared at the papers. This woman is dangerous. Yep, and your son's in way over his head. Not my problem anymore. Ray sighed. David, I know you're hurt. I'm past hurt. I'm tactical now. That's what worries me. I looked at my uncle. You know what Daniel said to me? At my office? He said I stole his childhood, that everything I did was my obligation, not worth gratitude. He punched a hole in my wall and threatened to sue me for emotional damages. Christ. That's not my son talking. That's her. She's rewritten his whole history, made me the villain. And he's eating it up because it's easier than admitting he screwed up. So what are you going to do with this? Ray tapped the folder. I don't know yet. But it's good to have. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about that restraining order against Jessica. The ex-boyfriend who'd claimed assault. The pattern of behavior. Daniel was in real danger. Not just financially, physically, emotionally. Jessica was a predator, and he was her perfect victim. Codependent enough to overlook red flags, desperate enough for approval to ignore his instincts. Part of me wanted to warn him. The rest of me remembered his face when he said I'd stolen his childhood. Let him figure it out on his own. My phone rang at 2 a.m., unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Dad? Daniel's voice was small, scared, like when he was young. What? I think I made a mistake. Yeah, you did. No, I mean, Jessica, we had a fight. She threw a plate at my head. Then she left. Said she was going to her father's. That was 3 days ago. She won't answer my calls. Sounds like a personal problem. Dad, please. I don't know what to do. The creditors are calling every hour. The lease on our apartment is up next month and we can't afford to renew. I thought her dad would help, but he said she's on her own. I'm completely alone here. You made your choice. I was wrong, okay? I was wrong about everything. Jessica, the money, what I said to you. All of it. I'm sorry. The words I'd wanted to hear for weeks, and they meant nothing. You're not sorry you did it, I said. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. That's not fair. You want to know what's not fair? Getting slapped at your son's wedding while he turns away. That's not fair, Daniel. What you're experiencing now, that's called consequences. So you're just going to let me suffer? I'm going to let you grow up. Something I should have forced years ago. I could lose everything. Welcome to the real world. You know what I did when your mother left? When I had a 6-year-old and 2 jobs and no money? I figured it out. I didn't call my parents begging for handouts. I handled it. I'm not you. No kidding. Silence on the line. Then, if you don't help me, I'll tell everyone what you did. How you abandoned your own son in his time of need. how you're bitter and vindictive and… I hung up, sat there in the dark, phone in my hand, waiting to feel something. Guilt, regret, anything. Nothing came. The next morning, I got a call from Tom. They filed a lawsuit. For what? Elder abuse, emotional distress, financial exploitation. They're claiming you manipulated Daniel his whole life and now you're withholding money that's rightfully his. I started laughing. This isn't funny, David. It's hilarious. They have no case. We have documentation of everything. Doesn't matter. Now you've got to defend yourself. That costs money, time, stress. Even if you win, you lose. So we countersue. For? Everything. Fraud, theft, harassment, assault. We bury them in paper until they can't breathe. Tom was quiet. You sure you want to go that route? You said it yourself. Even if I win, I lose. So let's make sure they lose harder. Okay, but this gets ugly from here. Good, I said. I'm done being nice. The lawsuit was a joke. I knew it. Tom knew it. Even their lawyer probably knew it. But it accomplished what Jessica wanted. It made me the monster. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions. My cousin Sarah called me a heartless bastard. Daniel's godfather sent a long email about forgiveness and family values. Even people from my church group started giving me strange looks. The narrative was simple. Cruel father abandons son in time of need. It played perfectly on social media, where Jessica had posted a teary video about their struggles. My husband and I are just trying to start our lives together, she sobbed into the camera. But his father has cut us off completely, won't even return our calls, all because we asked for a little help. It's heartbreaking. No mention of the slap, the demands, the lies. Just her, looking beautiful and vulnerable, playing the victim. It got 12,000 views. Comments poured in. What kind of father does this? Cut him out of your life completely. You're better off without him. I showed Tom. Let it go, he said. Don't engage. Anything you say will be twisted. While they ruin my reputation? Your reputation with who? People on the internet who don't know you? Ignore it. Focus on the case. But it wasn't just internet strangers. It was my co-workers whispering. My neighbors asking pointed questions. The checkout lady at my grocery store giving me dirty looks. Jessica had weaponized public opinion. Smart, terrifying, and completely unsustainable. Because the thing about lies is they require maintenance. You have to remember what you said, keep your story straight, make sure everyone's on the same page. Jessica was sloppy. In one interview with a local news blog, yes, it got that far, she claimed they were living in their car. But her Instagram showed her at a nice restaurant the same day. When people pointed out the discrepancy, she deleted the post and claimed she'd been hacked. She said Daniel was working 3 jobs to make ends meet, but someone found his LinkedIn showing he'd been unemployed for 2 months. She claimed I'd stolen money from Daniel's college fund. But I'd never set up a college fund. I'd paid his tuition directly, and the university records proved it. The cracks were showing. Tom noticed it too. Their lawyer's getting nervous. He called me yesterday, asked if we'd consider a settlement. Absolutely not. David, no. They sued me for elder abuse, claimed I'm this manipulative monster who destroyed my son's life. I'm not settling. I'm burning this to the ground. You understand what that means? Discovery, depositions, everything comes out. Good, let it. And it did. Discovery was brutal for them. Tom subpoenaed everything: bank records, credit card statements, social media posts, phone records. We documented every lie, every manipulation, every contradiction. The restaurant receipts while claiming poverty, the designer clothes while crying about debt, the texts between Jessica and her friends laughing about playing the old man. That last one hurt, but it also focused me. Daniel's deposition was a disaster. Their lawyer prepped him, obviously, but Daniel was never good at lying. He stumbled over basic questions, contradicted himself, got defensive and angry. Did your father ever physically harm you? No, but did he ever prevent you from leaving the house, seeing friends, living your life? Not exactly, but he was always, yes or no, please. No. Did he provide for you financially throughout your childhood and college years? Yeah, but that was his job. So he fulfilled his parental obligations? I guess, but it went on like that for 4 hours. By the end, even their lawyer looked defeated. Jessica's deposition was different. She was coached better, stayed on message, played the victim flawlessly. But Tom had the video from the wedding. Ms. Preston, do you remember this moment? He played it, her slapping me. The sound echoed in the small conference room. I was emotional, the stress of the wedding. Did you ask Mr. Preston for his apartment keys? We were discussing living arrangements. In front of 300 guests, and when he refused, you struck him? It was barely a tap. The video shows your full arm extension and his head snapping to the side. That seems more than a tap. You're twisting this. I'm showing what happened. Now, you mentioned on social media that you and Daniel were homeless. But according to these records, you were living in a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood. Can you explain the discrepancy? We couldn't afford it. We were about to be evicted. But you weren't evicted. You left voluntarily. And 3 days later, according to your credit card statement, you spent $400 at a spa. Does that seem consistent with homelessness? She went red. I needed self-care, the stress of being homeless in a spa. It was beautiful. Tom dismantled her piece by piece, always polite, never raising his voice, just letting the facts speak. Tom filed a motion for summary judgment, basically asking the judge to throw the whole thing out without even going to trial. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday in March, cold gray morning. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for Daniel's college graduation. Seemed appropriate. Daniel and Jessica sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with their lawyer. He looked tired. They looked worse. Jessica's hair wasn't perfect for once, and Daniel had lost weight. Dark circles under his eyes. Part of me felt bad. The rest of me remembered that text about finding my hidden money. The judge was a woman in her 60s, Judge Patricia Morrison. She'd seen everything in her 30 years on the bench, and her expression said she wasn't impressed with anyone in her courtroom. I've reviewed the motion and the opposition, she said. I've also reviewed all the discovery materials. Mr. Sullivan, I have to say, your case is troubling. Their lawyer stood. Your Honor, if I may... You may not. I'm talking. She flipped through papers. The plaintiffs claim elder abuse, but the defendant is 58 years old. Hardly elderly. They claim financial exploitation, but all the evidence shows money flowing from defendant to plaintiffs, not the other way. They claim emotional distress from abandonment, but the evidence shows they initiated the estrangement by assaulting the defendant and demanding his property. Your Honor, there's context. Oh, I'm sure there is. There always is. But context doesn't change facts. The facts are these. A father supported his son financially for years. The son married a woman with a history of financial problems and violent behavior. Together, they attempted to manipulate the father into giving them his home. When he refused, they assaulted him and subsequently filed this lawsuit in what appears to be retaliation. She looked at Daniel and Jessica. Does that about sum it up? Sullivan swallowed. Your Honor, family dynamics are complicated. Not that complicated. Motion for summary judgment is granted. Case dismissed. Furthermore, I'm awarding costs to the defendant. Mr. Sullivan, your clients will be responsible for Mr. Preston's legal fees. Jessica gasped. Daniel went white. But Your Honor, Sullivan started. We're done. Next case. Just like that. Over. Tom and I walked out together. Behind us, I could hear Jessica's voice rising, shrill and angry, blaming their lawyer. How much are they going to owe me? I asked. $23,000, give or take. For my fees, Court costs, filing fees. Will they pay? Eventually. We'll garnish wages if we have to. Daniel doesn't have wages. Then we'll put a lien on any assets they acquire. It'll follow them for years. Good. We got coffee at a shop near the courthouse. Tom seemed thoughtful. You won, he said. Completely. They're buried in debt, their lawsuit backfired, and now they owe you money they can't pay. So why don't you look happy? Because it's not done yet. What else is there? I stirred my coffee. They're not broken. Not really. Jessica will regroup. She'll find another angle, another play. And Daniel will follow her because he's too weak to do anything else. So what? You want to destroy them completely? I want them to understand consequences. Real ones. The kind that stick. Tom set down his cup. David, as your lawyer and your friend, be careful. You've won the war. Don't lose yourself trying to win the peace. Noted. But I knew what I was going to do. That night, I made a call. To Robert, Jessica's father. What do you want? He sounded exhausted. To talk about your daughter. I'm done talking about Jessica. She's on her own now. That's actually what I wanted to discuss. See, I've been doing research. Your business, your finances. You're in trouble, Robert. Silence. I'm guessing Jessica doesn't know how bad it is. Or maybe she does, and that's why she went after Daniel so hard. Needed a backup plan when you inevitably crashed. This is harassment. This is reality. You've got 6 months, maybe a year before everything collapses. When it does, Jessica's going to need somewhere to land, and she's going to drag Daniel down with her. What's your point? My point is we have a common problem. You want Jessica to stand on her own. I want Daniel away from her. We can help each other. I'm not following. You cut her off. Completely. No money, no safety net, nothing. Make it clear she's got to figure this out herself. She'll panic. She'll make mistakes. And when she does, I'll be there to document everything. You want me to abandon my daughter? I want you to stop enabling her. There's a difference. He was quiet for a long time. She's going to hate me. She already uses you. At least this way you get to keep your dignity. And what do you get out of this? Daniel sees what she really is. Without her father's money to cushion them, without my money to bail them out, they're going to have to face reality. And when they do, she'll show her true colors. She'll blame him, turn on him, and maybe, just maybe, he'll wake up. That's cold. That's love, I said. Sometimes love means letting people hit bottom. Robert hung up without answering. But 3 days later, I got my answer. Jessica posted on social media about how her own father had betrayed her by refusing to pay her rent. Phase 2 was in motion. They lost their apartment in April. I found out through the grapevine. Uncle Ray, who still had connections everywhere. They're staying with friends, he told me. Couch surfing. Jessica's putting on a brave face on social media, but word is they're fighting constantly. Good. David, don't. I know what you're going to say, that I should feel bad, that I'm being cruel, but you saw what they did, what they tried to do. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying be careful. Cornered animals bite. He was right to worry. A week later, someone tried to break into my apartment. I was at work when my neighbor called. David, police are here. Someone tried to jimmy your door. Didn't get in, your deadbolt held, but they made a mess of the frame. I left work immediately. Got there to find 2 cops taking a report and my door scratched to hell around the lock. Any idea who might have done this? The older cop asked. I had a very good idea, but I needed proof. No, I lied. Can you check for fingerprints? For an attempted break-in? Probably not worth the resources unless something was stolen. Check anyway, I'll pay for it if I have to. They humored me. Dusted the door, took samples. Told me it'd be a few weeks for results. I called Tom. File a police report with Daniel and Jessica's names on it, he said. Even if the prints don't match, it establishes a pattern if they try anything else. You really think they'd... David, they sued you for elder abuse. They threatened to find your hidden money. Of course they'd try to break in. He was right. I installed cameras. 3 of them. Front door, back door, and one covering my parking space. Motion activated, cloud storage, the whole setup. 2 nights later, they came back. 2:47 a.m. My phone buzzed with a motion alert. I pulled up the camera feed and there they were, Daniel and Jessica, trying to pick my lock with what looked like a screwdriver and a credit card. I watched for 30 seconds, making sure the footage was clear. Then I called 911. I need police. Someone's trying to break into my apartment. Yes, I can see them on camera. 2 people. No, I don't feel safe confronting them. Please hurry. I sent the video to Tom while I waited. Then I watched from my bedroom window. Daniel was doing the actual work, fumbling with the lock. Jessica stood behind him, looking around nervously. She was gesturing, probably telling him to hurry. They still hadn't gotten in when the police arrived. Lights, sirens, the whole show. I watched Daniel freeze, watched Jessica try to run, watched the cops grab them both. Then I went downstairs. The older cop from before was there. He recognized me. These the people you suspected? That's my son, I said, and his wife. Daniel's face when he saw me. God, shock, fear, shame, anger, all cycling through in seconds. Dad, I can explain. Don't. I looked at the cop. I want to press charges. Dad, please. You broke into my home, tried to rob me. After everything else, you actually tried to rob me. We weren't going to take anything. Just looking around? The cop's voice was dry. At 3 a.m, with burglary tools? It's his father, Jessica said. Her voice had that edge again, the one that said she thought she could talk her way out of anything. This is a family dispute, not a crime. Breaking and entering is a crime, the cop said. Doesn't matter if you're related. They were arrested, read their rights, taken away in separate cars. I stood in my parking lot, watching the taillights disappear. Uncle Ray pulled up 10 minutes later. I'd called him from habit, the way you call family in a crisis. Jesus Christ, David. Yeah. You okay? No, but I'm better than them. We went inside. I made coffee. Ray looked at the scratched door frame and shook his head. What were they thinking? That I have money hidden somewhere. Jessica's been convinced of it since the wedding. She probably talked Daniel into this. Or Daniel's desperate enough he doesn't need much convincing anymore. We sat in silence for a while. You're really going to let them be charged? Ray asked finally. Yes. David, that's prison time. Felony breaking and entering. I know. That's your son. My son died the day he let his wife slap me and said nothing. This person who tried to break into my home? That's a stranger who happens to share my DNA. Ray looked at me, really looked at me. I believe you mean that. Every word. Then God help you both. The fingerprints from the first attempt came back a week later. Daniel's were on the door. Jessica's too. They'd tried before, failed, and come back for a second attempt. 2 counts of attempted burglary, 1 count each. Their arraignment was set for May. Tom went with me. Daniel and Jessica were there in orange jumpsuits. Jessica looked furious. Daniel looked broken. The judge set bail at $25,000 each, $50,000 total. Does anyone here plan to post bail? The judge asked. Silence. Robert wasn't there. I'd made sure of that with a phone call reminding him of our conversation. Your Honor, their public defender said, they couldn't afford a lawyer anymore. These defendants have no criminal history. They have 2 counts of attempted burglary, the judge said. Bail stands. They were remanded back to custody. I watched them be led away. Daniel turned back once, caught my eye. His expression was desperate, pleading. I looked away. Outside the courthouse, Tom pulled me aside. You know they'll take a plea deal. Probably. Community service, probation, maybe some jail time, but not much. I know. So, what's the end game here? The end game is they understand there are consequences, real ones, that you can't just manipulate and use people and expect them to keep helping you. That family means something, and they destroyed it. And if Daniel wants to reconcile, after this? I thought about it, really thought about it. Then he'll have to prove he means it, not with words, with years of changed behavior. And honestly, I looked at Tom. I don't think he has it in him. The plea deal came 3 weeks later. Both pleaded guilty to 1 count of attempted burglary, reduced from felony to misdemeanor due to no priors and nothing actually stolen. Jessica got 18 months probation, 500 hours of community service, and mandatory counseling. Daniel got the same, plus a no-contact order with me for the duration of his probation. The judge added that last part herself. "Mr. Preston," she said, looking at Daniel, "I've seen a lot of family disputes in this courtroom, but I've never seen a son try to rob his own father. Whatever happened between you two, breaking into his home wasn't going to fix it. You stay away from him. Completely, do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "If you violate that order, you'll do the full 18 months in county. Am I clear?" "Yes, Your Honor." They were released that day. Time served, 3 weeks in county, counted toward their sentence. I watched them leave the courthouse together. Jessica's arm was around Daniel, but her face was cold. She was whispering something to him. He nodded, looking defeated. "It's over," Tom said. "No," I said. "Not yet." The probation was supposed to reform them, make them into productive citizens, face their mistakes. Instead, it destroyed them. Jessica couldn't keep a job. She was smart, educated, but she had a temper and a history now. Background checks turned up the burglary charge. Employers passed. She cycled through 3 positions in 4 months: retail, food service, telemarketing, quit, or got fired from all of them. Daniel at least tried. Got a job at a warehouse, loading trucks, manual labor, the kind of work he'd never had to do before because I'd paid for his education so he wouldn't have to. The irony wasn't lost on me. I knew all this because Ray kept tabs. He felt guilty, I think, like he should have stopped me somehow, so he monitored them, gave me updates I didn't ask for. "Daniel's lost 30 pounds, he told me in June. "Looks like hell. Jessica's drinking. They're living in some roach motel on the east side." "Okay. David, don't you care? Should I?" "He's your son." "He tried to rob me, Ray. Twice, after suing me, after his wife hit me, after years of lies and manipulation. At what point do I get to stop caring?" Ray didn't have an answer, but the truth was, I did care. That was the problem. Part of me still saw Daniel as that kid in Little League, striking out but trying his hardest. Part of me wanted to swoop in, fix everything, make it better. The rest of me remembered his face when he said I'd stolen his childhood. So I stayed away, honored the no-contact order and my own boundaries. July brought complications. Jessica got arrested again, public intoxication, disorderly conduct, spent a night in jail, got released with a warning. But it violated her probation. The judge wasn't sympathetic. "Ms. Preston, you've had one job. Stay out of trouble. You couldn't manage that for 4 months?" "Your Honor, the stress..." "Everyone's stressed. Not everyone gets drunk and screams at strangers in a Walmart parking lot." She got 30 days in county. Daniel had to figure things out alone. He lasted 2 weeks before calling Ray. "I need help," he told my uncle. "I can't make rent, can't afford food. I'm drowning here." "Call your father-in-law." "He won't return my calls, nobody will, I'm completely alone." That's what happens when you burn your bridges. Please, I know I screwed up. I know I don't deserve help, but I'm begging you. Just enough for groceries, anything. Ray asked me about it. "No," I said. "David, no. He's got a job. He's capable of working. If he can't make ends meet, he needs to figure it out like everyone else does. Get a roommate, get a second job, stop eating out. Budget. He doesn't know how to do any of that. Then he'll learn, or he won't. Either way, not my problem." Ray was quiet. Then, you really have cut him off completely. Yes. Does that make you feel better? No. But it makes me feel honest. August. Jessica got out of county. She came back different, harder, meaner. The 30 days had scraped away whatever veneer of civilization she'd had left. She and Daniel fought constantly, screaming matches their neighbors complained about. Once, police were called for a domestic disturbance. No charges filed, but it was documented. I wondered when Daniel would wake up, when he'd see what I'd seen at that wedding, that Jessica was poison, that she'd drag him down until there was nothing left. But he didn't leave, stayed with her. Loyal to the end, or maybe just too beaten down to imagine another option. September. Jessica stopped doing her community service, just stopped showing up. Her probation officer gave her chances. She blew them all. Warrant issued for her arrest. She ran. Left Daniel in that motel room with nothing but a note. I can't do this anymore. Don't try to find me. Ray called me with the news. Daniel's having a breakdown. He called me crying, saying she's gone and he doesn't know what to do. He'll figure it out. David, Jesus, have some compassion. I had compassion. For 26 years. It got me slapped, sued, and robbed. I'm done with compassion. So what? You're just going to let him spiral? I'm going to let him be an adult. That's what he wanted, right? To not have me controlling his life? Ray hung up on me. I sat in my apartment. Newly renovated door locked tight, cameras watching every entrance, safe, secure, alone, and I wondered if I'd become the monster they'd accused me of being. October. Daniel got evicted, couldn't make rent without Jessica's income, such as it was. He moved into his car, the same car that still had payments he couldn't afford. It got repossessed 2 weeks later. Now he was actually homeless, living in a shelter. Working at the warehouse during the day, trying to save enough for a deposit on a new place. Failing, he violated the no-contact order by sending me a letter. The shelter's return address on the envelope. I almost threw it away without reading it. Almost. Dad, it started. Just that one word, and I could hear his voice. I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know I destroyed everything we had. I know you probably hate me, and you'd be right to. But I need you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught, not because things went bad, but because I hurt you, because I let her turn me into someone I hate, because I was weak and selfish and stupid. Jessica's gone. She left me with nothing, and I'm living in a shelter and working a job that barely pays for food, and every day I wake up and think about what I had, not the money, not the apartment, but you, a father who loved me, who would have done anything for me, and I threw it away. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did, what I lost, and I'd give anything to take it back. But I can't. So I'm just trying to survive, trying to be better, trying to become someone you could be proud of again someday. I'm sorry, Dad, for everything. Daniel. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and went back to my life. November, Thanksgiving. Uncle Ray invited me over. I went because I always did. Family tradition. Except this year, there was an extra place setting. I stopped in the doorway. No. David. No, absolutely not. You invited him? He's homeless, David. It's Thanksgiving. I couldn't just... Yes, you could. You absolutely could, and you should have. Daniel was in the kitchen. I could see him through the doorway, thinner than I remembered, eyes haunted. He saw me. Froze. I'll go, he said. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Damn right you'll go, I said. David, please, Ray said. 1 meal, just 1 meal. It's Thanksgiving. He has a no-contact order against me. Being here violates it. So either he leaves or I call the police. You wouldn't. Try me. Daniel grabbed his coat. It's okay. I shouldn't have come. I'm sorry, Uncle Ray. He walked past me to the door. Stopped. Dad, I meant what I wrote. Every word. I know you don't believe me, but it's true. If it were true, I said, you wouldn't have needed to lose everything to figure it out. You would have known before you let your wife slap me, before you sued me, before you tried to rob me. Real remorse doesn't require hitting rock bottom. It requires character, and you don't have any. He flinched, like I'd hit him. Then he left. Ray and I stood there in the doorway, cold air blowing in. That was cruel, Ray said. That was honest. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it with my dignity intact. We ate Thanksgiving dinner in silence. Just the two of us. The extra plate sat there, untouched, a monument to everything broken between us. I didn't enjoy a single bite. December. Winter came hard that year, cold, wet, miserable. The shelter where Daniel was staying had a rule. You could only stay for 90 days. Then you had to leave for at least 30 days before coming back. Something about preventing dependency. Daniel's 90 days ended on December 15th. He spent that night in his sleeping bag behind a grocery store. Someone stole it while he was inside warming up. He came back to find everything gone. Sleeping bag, backpack, the little cash he had. Temperature that night was 28 degrees. I learned about it 3 days later when Ray called me from the hospital. He's got pneumonia, Ray said. Bad. They're keeping him for observation. How'd you find out? Hospital called me. I'm still his emergency contact, apparently. Well, good luck with that. David, get down here. No. He's your son. Stop saying that like it means something. He stopped being my son when he made his choices. I didn't do this to him. He did it to himself. You're really not coming? I'm really not coming. Ray hung up on me again. I sat in my apartment, warm and comfortable, and thought about Daniel in a hospital bed. Sick. Alone. The natural consequences of his choices. And I felt nothing. Or told myself I felt nothing. The truth was messier. I went to the hospital that night. Late. After visiting hours. Snuck in using the employee entrance I knew from when my father died there years ago. Found Daniel's room. Stood outside the door, looking through the window. He was asleep. IVs in his arms. Oxygen tube in his nose. He looked small, vulnerable, like a kid again. I stood there for 10 minutes watching him breathe. Then I left, without going in. Christmas came. I spent it alone. Ordered Chinese food. Watched old movies, tried not to think about how Daniel and I used to spend the holiday. The traditions we'd built. All gone now. Ray called on Christmas Eve. He's out of the hospital, still sick but not critical anymore. Good. I gave him some money, put him up in a motel for a couple weeks. Don't be mad. Why would I be mad? It's your money. Because I know you think I'm undermining you. You are, but that's your choice. He's changed, David. Really changed. You'd see it if you gave him a chance. People don't change. They just get better at hiding who they really are. That's bleak. That's experience. New Year came. I made resolutions I wouldn't keep. Exercise more, eat better, care less. Daniel's probation ended in January. 18 months, completed. The no-contact order expired with it. I waited for him to reach out. He didn't. Part of me was relieved. Part of me was disappointed. I hated that I couldn't decide which feeling was winning. February. I was at the grocery store when I saw her. Jessica. She'd cut her hair short, dyed it dark, lost weight. But I recognized her immediately. She was with a man, older, 50s, expensive clothes. He had his arm around her waist, possessively. She saw me. Our eyes met. For a second I thought she'd run, or say something, cause a scene. Instead, she smiled. It was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. Then she turned away, whispered something to her companion, and they walked off. I stood there holding a cart full of groceries, understanding exactly what I'd just witnessed. She'd moved on, found another mark, was already working her angles on some other poor fool, and somewhere in this city, Daniel was struggling alone while his wife lived comfortably with her new target. I should have felt vindicated, proven right. Instead, I felt sick. I called Ray that night. Jessica's in town. She's got a new guy. Looks rich. Poor bastard. Yeah. You gonna warn him? Not my circus. Not my monkeys. You could tell Daniel. Why? So he can go try to win her back? No thanks. But Ray must have told him anyway, because 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my apartment. I opened the door because the cameras showed he was alone. Unarmed, just standing there in the hallway, looking nervous. You're violating the no-contact order, I said. It expired. Back in January. Right. So what do you want? Uncle Ray said you saw Jessica. Yeah. With someone else? Yeah. He nodded slowly. I figured she'd move on. She's good at that. You gonna do something stupid? Like what? I don't know. Win her back? Confront the guy? Something that'll land you in jail again? No. He laughed bitterly. I'm done with her, done with all of it. I just wanted to know if it was real, if Uncle Ray was making it up to make me feel better. It's real. She looked happy. He looked rich. She's probably feeding him the same lines she fed you. Probably. He shoved his hands in his pockets. I'm sorry for bothering you. He turned to go. Wait, I said. Surprised myself. He turned back. You want coffee? We sat in my living room, mugs in hand, not talking. The silence was heavy, loaded with everything unsaid. Uncle Ray says you're doing better, I said finally. I got a better job. Office work, data entry. It's not much, but it's better than the warehouse. Found a room to rent. It's tiny, but it's mine. Been clean for 3 months. Clean? Jessica had me on pills. For anxiety, for stress. Whatever she could get me to take to keep me manageable. I didn't even realize I was addicted until I tried to stop. He stared at his coffee. Withdrawal was hell. I didn't know what to say to that. I know you don't owe me anything, Daniel continued, and I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to tell you that I'm trying, really trying, to be better, to be someone who deserves to be your son again. That's not how it works. I know, but I have to try anyway. We sat in silence some more. Why didn't you fight back? I asked. At the wedding, when she slapped me. Why didn't you say anything? He was quiet for a long time. Because I was scared of her. Isn't that pathetic? Scared of my own wife. But she had this way of making me feel like nothing. Like I was worthless without her. And I believed it. I was so desperate for her approval that I threw away yours. The one person who actually loved me. You hurt me, I said. More than you know. I know. I see it now. Every day I see it. And I can't take it back. No, you can't. So what do we do? I don't know. He finished his coffee, set the mug down. I should go. Thanks for letting me in. Daniel. He looked at me. The letter you sent. From the shelter. I read it. And I'm glad you understand now what you did. But understanding doesn't fix it. Time might. Years of proving you've changed. But I can't promise anything. I know. If I ever help you again, and that's a big if, it'll be on my terms, my rules. And if you screw me over even once, we're done forever. Do you understand? Yes. I mean it. Forever. I won't give you another chance after that. I understand. He left. I watched him walk down the hallway through my camera feed. He looked back once, then kept going. I sat in my living room for a long time after, holding my empty mug, wondering if I'd just made a huge mistake. Or if maybe, just maybe, there was a sliver of hope for us after all. But hope was dangerous. Hope got you hurt. Better to stay guarded. Wait and see. Time would tell. March brought changes. Daniel kept his job, kept his room, showed up to Uncle Ray's house every Sunday for dinner and never asked for anything. Ray reported back to me. He's really trying, David. Working hard. Staying out of trouble. Good. Maybe you could come to dinner sometime. See for yourself. Maybe. I didn't go. April. I got a card in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Dad, 1 year clean. 1 year at my job. 1 year of doing better. I know it's not enough, but it's a start. I hope you're well. Daniel. I put the card on my fridge, looked at it every morning. May. Jessica's new boyfriend filed a police report. She'd stolen his credit cards, charged $50,000, and disappeared. A warrant was issued, again. I heard about it through Ray. You think she'll come after Daniel again? No, I said. He's got nothing left to take. Think she'll come after you? I touched the gun I'd bought and licensed after the break-ins, kept it in my nightstand now. Let her try. She didn't. June. I ran into Daniel at the grocery store, the same one where I'd seen Jessica. He was in the produce section, looking at apples like they held the secrets of the universe. Hey, I said. He looked up, startled. Dad, hi. How are you? Good. Busy. Work's going well. That's good. Awkward silence. I'm making dinner, he said. First time in forever, trying to cook like a normal person. What are you making? Spaghetti. Real spaghetti, not ramen. I almost smiled. That's a start. Yeah. More silence. You could come over, he said quietly. For dinner, sometime, if you wanted. No pressure. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, I said. His face lit up, just a little, but enough that I could see the kid he used to be peeking through. Okay. Yeah, maybe. I finished my shopping. So did he. We ended up in the checkout line together. Made small talk about nothing important. Weather, traffic, safe topics. In the parking lot, we went to our separate cars. Dad? I turned. Thank you for giving me a chance, even a small one. Don't thank me yet. You've got a long way to go. I know, but I'll get there, I promise. I watched him drive away in his beat-up Honda, rusty and old but his, bought with his own money, and I thought maybe, just maybe, he might actually mean it this time. But I didn't trust it, couldn't trust it. Not yet. July. Daniel sent me a picture. Him and Uncle Ray at a baseball game. Daniel was smiling. Really smiling. The first genuine smile I'd seen from him in years. Thought you'd want to see this, the text said. I remember when you used to take me to games. Maybe we could go sometime? I didn't respond right away. Let the message sit for 3 days. Then, maybe. August. Daniel got promoted. Assistant supervisor at his company. Small step up, but meaningful. He called Ray. Ray called me. He wants to celebrate. Asked if you'd come. Where? Dinner, his treat. He can't afford dinner out. He's been saving. Says it's important to him. I thought about all the dinners I'd paid for over the years. All the times I'd treated him, celebrated his achievements, been proud of him. Tell him yes, I said. Ray was quiet. Really? Really, but somewhere cheap. I'm not watching him blow his savings on a fancy restaurant to impress me. I'll tell him. The dinner was at a chain restaurant. Nothing special.